Hi, welcome back to Winning and Glad to see you. Today's episode on prophecy is going to be discussing, well, apparently the world's favorite insult to call somebody, the Antichrist. Who is the Antichrist, and why is it such an insult to call somebody the Antichrist? Well, first off, depending on who you are, you may have accused George W. Bush of being the Antichrist. You may have accused Saddam Hussein of being an Antichrist. Obama, Trump was definitely called the Antichrist by a lot of people. So, were these people the Antichrist? No. The Antichrist is a term that is used now to denote one specific person. This is not a biblical, the way the Bible discusses it. The Bible says there will be many Antichrists. Why? Because the word Antichrist is actually two words, anti and Christ. So, anybody who is against Christ is an Antichrist. I know that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear who is the Antichrist. The capital big bold letters, the one that we watched grow up in the Omen movie series. Well, that Antichrist is actually called the son of perdition, or the man of sin. And what we're going to do first right now is we're going to go ahead and open up the Bible. I've already taken the liberty of collecting and using several collections on who the Antichrist is. So let's go ahead and go to the top.
The Antichrist. The Antichrist, also called the Beast, the Man of Sin, the Little Horn, the Wicked One, the Abomination, and others, is the world leader during the Great Tribulation period. He will negotiate a peace treaty with Israel, and then break that treaty, declaring war on Israel and plunging the world into the most devastating war of all time. It is very possible that the Antichrist is alive in the world today. Ruler of the world. Daniel chapter 7 verses 2 to 7 KJV. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and, behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Daniel chapter 7 verses 24 to 27 KJV. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Daniel chapter 8 verse 4 KJV. I saw the ram pushing westward, and northward, and southward, so that no beasts might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, and became great. Daniel chapter 11 verse 36 KJV. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Revelations chapter 13 verses 1 to 18 KJV. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Revelations chapter 17 verses 11 to 17 KJV. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, and chosen, and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. The man of sin. Daniel chapter 9 verse 27 KJV. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3 KJV. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Revelations chapter 13 verse 12 KJV. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. The beast. Revelations chapter 17 verse 3 KJV. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Revelations chapter 17 verse 8 KJV. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. Revelations chapter 17 verse 16 KJV. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Revelations chapter 19 verses 19 to 20 KJV. And I saw the beast, and the kings of the earth, and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. Revelations chapter 20 verse 10 KJV. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Demands worship. Daniel chapter 7 verse 8 KJV. I considered the horns, and, behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and, behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Daniel chapter 7 verse 25 KJV. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Daniel chapter 11 verse 31 KJV. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. Daniel chapter 11 verse 36 KJV. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Matthew chapter 24 verse 15 KJV. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Mark chapter 13 verse 14 KJV. But when ye shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand, then let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 3 to 4 KJV. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God. Revelations chapter 13 verse 4 KJV. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Revelations chapter 13 verse 8 KJV. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Revelations chapter 13 verse 2. The first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Revelations chapter 13 verse 12 KJV. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Revelations chapter 13 verse 15 KJV. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Revelations chapter 14 verse 9 KJV. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead, or in his hand. Revelations chapter 16 verse 2 KJV. And the first went, and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image.
Now that's a lot of texts. Why? Because he is such a key and central part of what's going to happen. Now the one that stands out to me is Revelations chapter 13 verses 1 through 18. And as you look at these and you read through in your Bible, you're reading about the beast and the coming of the beast and the little beast and the big beast and who he is. Let's take a look at what it says. And I stood upon the sands of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Now, this is of course a symbolic representation of a particular human. That human, of course, is the Antichrist. Let me look through my paper here because it kind of gets all over the place. Now this, as it was reading, every time it said KJV, it's talking about the King James Version. Just in that first sentence, the first verse, we see that he's going to rise up having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his 10 horns, 10 crowns, meaning each of these horns is a nation. And those 10 nations is where we get the idea of the 10-nation confederation. These are 10 kings that have sworn allegiance to the Antichrist. The Antichrist will rule, as we've read, he's going to want power. And he's going to have dominion over the world as we know it. This puts him as the most powerful figure in all of history. Now, if we go back through history, we're going to see that several people throughout history had some major impact on the world. One of the first was Alexander the Great. Alexander spread his empire all the way from Greece, all around the Mediterranean, and then all the way out to basically to India. There are rumors and myths of him going up north into some of the stands, but he controlled everything from basically India west. That is a huge empire. Now, did he control all of North Africa? No. Did he control all of Africa? No. Did he control all of Europe? Again, no. So he didn't exactly reach the whole world, but he reached most of the world that he knew. Your next major empire that came up, of course, is the Roman Empire. They took the reach of Alexander and extended it a little bit. You got a lot more spread into Europe. It was the Romans that actually conquered Spain and Carthage and the rest of North Africa. Did they go into Southern Africa? No. Did they get all of Europe? No. They never conquered, especially the areas around Russia. Now, the next major ruler that came along that had a huge worldwide empire, or as what's called a worldwide empire, was Genghis Khan and his son Kublai Khan. They reached from Mongolia, they took China, which none of the others did, and they reached all across Europe. But Kublai Khan and Genghis Khan never went into Africa. So, each of these empires so far is a little bit restricted on what they were able to reach. This is interesting, and that also shows you the limitations, that why they couldn't be the Antichrist, because they didn't reach the whole world. Now, I was just checking something real fast, folks. Yep. There's a part of Daniel's dream was a discussion of the different major empires that were going to come along. And what Daniel discussed was first the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and then we have the modern time frame, or the new Roman Empire. It hasn't come up yet. That is the empire of the Antichrist. I will be, as you can see on your screen, see the statue? Daniel didn't count the Mongolians because they didn't impact the Middle East. So, what we started off with Babylon. This is where Daniel was captured. This is the kingdom that took command of him. These were taken out by they were taken out by the Persians. And this was followed by the Greeks, as I mentioned, Alexander, and then the Romans. Now, each of those sections, you have the head, the torso, the basically pelvic region, or the main center there, and then the legs. Finally, the final area that is mentioned is the feet. The feet made of clay, and 10 toes, 10 nations. Again, relating back to the 10 nations that serve the Antichrist. So, who is the Antichrist? Well, we know that from what we've read in the Bible, and what we just saw, he is going to rule a 10-nation confederation. Now, if you look, you can see where the beginning of the tribulation starts. The tribulation on this map is go down from where the crown is located. It comes straight down. You see that little square? Do you see the red kind of square about 3/4 of the way up? And we're going to pause for a moment. I can't... What, were we just paused?
Yeah.
Alright. We can see right there, this is the tribulation. That's the 7-year time frame where the Antichrist rules. Now, while this is going on, everything around that affects the tribulation. You have the 7 trumpets, the 7 seals, the 7 bowls. During this time, the Spirit of God is not walking the earth, or is not running around, not prominent on the earth anymore. The Spirit of God has been present on the earth during what is called the time of the Gentiles. That's that big blue circle there. Half circle. Now, that is the time frame all the way up to where we are now. You can see the last little lamp listed there. That's Laodicea. That's us. We're right there where that gray kind of line is next to it, right before the beginning of the tribulation. Now, we will go over this timeline a lot better in a later episode. What we're looking at today is just who is the Antichrist. Now, obviously, he's going to be a ruler. He's going to have command and dominion over a minimum of 10 countries. Now, I say a minimum because it'll start with 10 nations who will swear fealty to him. Now, throughout history, we've had a lot of people try to guess who the Antichrist is. When the EU came out, people were positive that's the Antichrist kingdom, because originally there were 10 nations, and then same thing with the United Nations. We've had a lot of people have written about the possibility of the United Nations being the kingdom of the Antichrist, that he would rise up and take command of the United Nations, and that is where he gets his kingdom. Now, I'm not so willing to accept that anymore. I think that maybe the vestiges or the end results of the UN, that's a possibility. But who those 10 nations are, well, the United Nations is more than 10 nations. I believe the last count I heard there's 186 member nations, maybe more. That does not sound to me like a 10-nation confederation. Unless those 10 nations go out and beat up everybody else in the world, then it doesn't really fit. So, what can we tell you about the Antichrist? It's going to be very charismatic. Well, why do I say he's going to be very charismatic? Because Christ was. In order for him to pull off the con job that he's going to do on the world, he's going to have to represent himself or be represented as Christ. Therefore, he's going to have many of the attributes or the appearances of those attributes as Christ. I'm not talking about long hair, and I'm not talking about his skin color or anything like that. What I'm talking about is his personality traits. People are going to see him as charismatic. Now, you're sitting back going, but how can he be charismatic if he's evil? Adolf Hitler was charismatic. Adolf Hitler, when he spoke to the people of Germany prior to the beginning of World War II, and as he was lifting his nation up, was very charismatic. He was able to motivate the people, and so will the Antichrist. Now, Adolf Hitler was labeled as an Antichrist by many people, and he was an Antichrist. He's not the son of perdition. He's not the man of sin. And yes, this means that if you felt that George W. Bush was an Antichrist, that may be possible. I disagree with the way that's used there. This George W. Bush was not an evil man to this degree. Neither was Bush, neither was Trump, neither was Obama. The idea of calling any normal politician who's just out to do what they do an Antichrist, to me, is belittling the term. We have a problem with doing that in the society today. We want to take everything and apply it. We want to take every word that should be used for specific things and apply it to as many things as we can. Look at the word racism. Today, if you disagree with somebody, you can be called a racist. Why? Because of certain people's views, the only reason you would ever disagree with them is if you're judging them by the skin color. We saw this a prevalence in society during the Obama administration. If you disagreed with him, obviously it's because you're a racist. You're a white supremacist. Well, what they've done is they've now taken it to where being called a racist doesn't really mean a whole lot anymore. The same thing with calling somebody the Antichrist or Hitler. Comparing these people to somebody in that magnitude of evil just belittles the term and makes the term meaningless. An Antichrist to me is somebody who is definitely evil and seeking to raise their power above all others. And it also requires an intent to be worshipped. George W. Bush wasn't trying to be worshipped. Trump, okay, I know everybody thinks he wanted to be liked but not worshipped. Worship is a little different. This next week, one of the topics on Waiting on the Odyssey is, what is worship? Worship is not simply meaning this guy's doing a good job. It's putting yourself below them and raising them up with praise. Beyond praise, with obedience and I really can't say the words here. I mean, somebody who's being worshipped is loved, adored, magnified. They are beyond you. Nobody put Trump that high. I don't think even Trump put himself that high. So, Adolf Hitler, yes. They called him the Fuhrer. Everybody almost bowed to him and almost worshiping him. I don't think so many people actually worshipped Hitler, but they did magnify him. Same thing with Stalin. Same thing with Mao Zedong. Were these guys antichrists? Possibly. So that brings us once more back to the Antichrist, the son of perdition, the man of sin. And where he's going to really show up is, again, in that square. This is where we're going to see him rise to power. Well, right before that square, he rises to power, makes a treaty with Israel, and then breaks it. So, this has been a quick discussion, I guess, in a sense, of who is the Antichrist. Is he alive today? Most likely. Is he gaining power? Without a doubt. And when he rules, his rule will be not just political, but economic. We know this because we see this in the book of Revelations. When they talk about how the Antichrist comes to power, you will also start seeing a use of economic terms. And we will break down the power structure of the tribulation in a later episode. What you need to know for today is no, George W. Bush was not the Antichrist. Donald Trump was not the Antichrist. Joe Biden, not the Antichrist. Granted, I don't think anybody's called him that for many reasons. Probably the fact that he's just not that well loved. When the Antichrist does show, people are going to want to believe in him. He's going to save, in some sense, the world. He's going to be seen as a figure like Christ. And he's going to rise to power, and people are going to love him and worship him. Think about your most popular politicians and then magnify it. And that's what we're looking at with the Antichrist. So, this has been a discussion of who the Antichrist is, or what he is according to the Bible, and we will discuss some of what he does in a later episode. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button, hit the share button, share it with your friends, tell your friends about it, get them to listen, get them to share it, because the more people that listen, the more people are prepared. Yes, it also helps the ministry out, so it is the easiest and most cheapest way you can help this ministry is watch the videos, share the videos, get your friends to like the videos, share the videos, watch the videos, and all of you subscribe. Other ways to, of course, donate. You can donate through this platform. You can go to our website and donate through Bitcoin and other methods. All you got to do is make your mind up, take those steps and donate to us, and it will be greatly appreciated. All of it would be used only in helping this ministry. And other than that, hope you guys have a blessed week. Remember, the weekend's coming. Try not to do things that you shouldn't. Try to enjoy yourselves. Give your family a hug and a kiss, because the time is coming when you may not see them. I am A.T. Martinez, and it's been my pleasure to be with you. May God be with you all. Thank you.